Hey everybody! So let's talk about ATP. Adenosine triphosphate. Here it is. Now in the drawing that I did in class, I sort of made a rectangle, right, like that, and filled it in. Anyway, you get the idea. And I called this adenosine. Right? And then adenosine triphosphate. But adenosine molecule is made up of a ribose sugar and an adenine. But you don't have to know that. Just know that it's adenosine and then 3 phosphates attached. And now, so you have that, an adenosine molecule, which is comprised of this, and 3 phosphates. So, really, what we're looking at now is why. What's the purpose of this molecule? The purpose of this molecule really is to provide energy, usable energy for the cell. It's a usable chemical energy. This bond right here, like I said before, it's a high energy bond. Bond. And this is where the energy from glucose is stored. Now remember that the glucose molecule contains an incredible amount of energy. I mean, think about it. Look at this. Look at this molecule here. This little molecule makes up wood and makes up leaves and, so when you are making marshmallows and you go and you have a little bonfire, really what's happening is you are taking that energy of glucose and you're lighting it up, and then it explodes. Remember the sugar example that we did in class, right? I took the coffee creamer and added some fire to it, and it exploded. Well, the glucose molecule contains a huge amount of energy. And where does that energy come from? That energy that you see in fire and the energy that is stored here in this bond, this high energy bond between the 2nd and 3rd phosphate, that energy comes from light. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes light from the sun and squeezes it into a molecule, and then we can then take that molecule and use it to make ATP. Now, if you were to take glucose, remember, if you were to take glucose and try and access the energy of glucose directly, by breaking it apart at certain areas, it would just explode all over the place, and you would eventually turn into, a fireball. But maybe that's how, wait a minute, maybe that's how fire Pokemon do it. Yeah, fire Pokemon take the energy directly from glucose so that they can shoot fire. That's awesome. That sounds like a scientific reasoning for fire type Pokemon. Anyway, what am I talking about? Oh yeah, ATP. So, the purpose of ATP is to provide usable energy for the cell. The cell can't access the energy in glucose directly, so it has to move that energy from glucose into a usable molecule, and that's ATP. Now the process of taking the energy out of glucose and putting it into ATP is called cellular respiration. Okay? It's a step, remember, it's a step by step process that uses USES into ATP. Okay? ADP into ATP. Now what does that mean? Well, when you take ATP and you break the bond from between that 2nd and 3rd phosphate, you're releasing energy. Okay, so look at this. Right? So here you have ATP. Remember, adenosine triphosphate. Here's ATP right here. Lots of energy in this bond between the 2nd and 3rd phosphate. When this bond is broken, that energy from glucose is released. And then the cell can use that energy to do its, cell things, like, making proteins or maybe moving, whatever it's needed for. But now you have, once this bond is broken, now you have ADP. ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. The Di stands for 2. So adenosine and 2 phosphates. So adenosine diphosphate, energy has already been released. The adenosine diphosphate molecule on its own doesn't do anything. So this guy right here, this is ADP, doesn't do anything. You have to remake ATP. And that is what cellular respiration does. It takes ADP and glucose and oxygen. Mitochondria uses those things to produce more ATP so that you can, do the things that you do. So that's that. Email me if you have any questions.